Radio On is a British road movie from 1979 directed by Christopher Petit.
Yes, before I tell you about it, don't forget you can click here anytime to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what you're seeing. So yes, it's about a guy called Robert who is a DJ in London for, I think it's United Biscuits or something, isn't it?
That's what it's based on, which was it was a radio
for factories,
like hospital radio, but for biscuit factories.
So worthwhile job.
Yeah.
He looks really thrilled to be doing. So the plot is, he's living in London, and he learns that his brother's died. So he travels to Bristol to find out what's happened, why he's died, how he's died, etc., etc. So it's kind of part road movie, of him going from London to Bristol, and then when he gets there, other stuff happens. That's kind of the plot. That's the plot, really. He goes to a place, talks to some people, listens to some music, and it ends.
That's the plot. That's the film.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go on this one because you've never seen this one, and we know that I like some highbrow art stuff, and you do sometimes. Or
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, you do sometimes.
This one, Okay, it's the soundtrack. Let's start with that. That's great. It's got Bowie on it, and Kraftwerk, and Devo. That's all good. It even opens with a German version of Heroes. I'd never heard that before, so that was cool. However, that soon outstays its welcome, as nothing happens for like the first 10 minutes. Nobody speaks, and it's just okay. Is the film actually started? The credits have ended. Is the film going to start? And you kind of think that for the next hour and a half. What it's trying to do is show Britain in the 70s, and it does that very well because it all looks miserable and depressing.
Yes,
which it was, that's fine. And from that perspective, it works very well. But there's so much unnecessary, tedious shots in it. You cut all that out, and it probably could be a half-hour short film, and it would tell exactly the same story and not lose anything. You've got shot. Yes, it's a road movie, but you've got shots over his shoulder while he's waiting at a roundabout to turn into it for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, because and
only because there's music playing, so we can listen to the song. It's like, well, if I wanted to listen to that song, I'd just go and put that song on and listen to it. I don't need to watch somebody at a roundabout. I don't need to be behind somebody in a car. If I wanted to go on the road and sit at a roundabout and listen to music, I would get in my car and do that.
Yeah, you can't make road movies in Britain very well.
Well, no, that's the point.
It's not far enough to go, is there?
No,
really.
So,
we're over in.
Why did you bother?
It takes 4 hours to drive to Bristol?
Yeah, it's not very far. You can do it in a day. You can do it there and back in a day. So, and stop off for lunch on the way. Yes. So, which he does. He stops at a roadside pub or whatever, has a pint. And then he randomly comes back and there's a guy in his car, which presumably he's picked up as a hitchhiker.
Yeah.
But we never see that happen.
But
I think that's he just... Well, I assume he knows this guy. Anyway, he's the most interesting character, I thought.
He doesn't know the guy. He just gets in the car. He's sitting...
Well, the guy is already in the car?
He's in the pub.
Yeah.
You see him in the pub, he's in the corner.
What, the squaddy?
Yeah, the squaddy. And he gets up and leaves while David's having a drink.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, While Robert's having a drink.
Yeah.
He gets up and leaves, and then when he comes back to his car, he's sitting in the car.
But he doesn't say, piss off out of my car.
Well, he doesn't, because he's a bit odd.
Well, yeah, he is. But then, but I was so glad that he picked this guy up, because I was so bored of this guy being on his own. And he was the most compelling part of the film, because he, had a long monologue about being a squaddy and his life, and it was really interesting. But then he dumps him, and it's like, oh, he's on his own again. How boring is it? And then his car breaks down. And
it was a little bit like the Hitch at that moment, though, wasn't it?
Well, it was.
And
I thought, well, it's getting good now. And then he dumped him, and I was like, right, okay, well, hopefully this squaddy's going to come back and beat the crap out of him, but that never happened. Sorry to spoil it. So, it's obnoxiously long. Even though it's only an hour and 40 minutes, it like I say, it could be half an hour and you would have exactly the same result. So, I'm just a massive Luddite, obviously, not understanding what this film's trying to tell me. But
so I don't understand it completely. Why do I like it? Do I like it?
I don't know, do you?
I don't know.
Have I put you off it now?
No. So I watched it in a phase. So I went through a phase about 10 years ago when I thought I should probably be more grown up. I should probably start watching more grown-up films. And no, I like grown-up films. That's the honest truth. And I came across this via the music, really. Because I'm a big fan of. I'm not actually the biggest Bowie fan in the world, I have to say. I like a few songs. Heroes is a great song. But I love Kraftwerk and quite like Devo occasionally, and also like that kind of post-punk sound that came out of the 70s and then into the 80s, bands like The Fall and people like that. So that's how I found this movie originally. Plus, so there is a big link in this film to German cinema, and I've always been a big fan of German cinema. So people like Wim Wenders and Herzog, your favourite, and Fassbinder and people like that. I've always enjoyed that whole scene, and because I like Kraftwerk, obviously that whole krautrock music scene that came out of the 70s, I'm a big fan of that, and I've read quite a lot about it. And so that's I suppose there is a link there to that. And this film is actually the camera operator in this was Wim Wenders, camera operator. Right. Wim Wenders' wife at the time is the woman that he meets in the film. So there is a few links. There's other links in there. There's a scene in the film where he drives past some graffiti and it says "Free Astrid Proll," and Astrid Proll was one of the Red Faction Army members in the 70s. So there's a huge link to German cinema.
I mean, it does feel like a very European film.
It does feel like a European
especially when they're
film.
Talking German and there's no subtitles, right?
I think with a film like this, and I think this happens, and I said this before, I never went to university, I'm no intellectual, I like visuals, I like watching films, and certain films, make me have certain emotions, and that's what I get from films. I don't think this film is brilliant at all. I think there's definitely there's underlying chit chat in this film that I've read about in articles that suggest this is more about where cinema was in the 70s in Britain, as opposed to what actually the film is about. It's just that connection to European cinema. And if you like European cinema, then you'll understand what's going on in this film.
If you want a normally structured film, it's not. It doesn't.
And
really.
it kind of feels. I think the music of the time is a huge influence. I have to say, I actually found it. Although it's, so he's driving from London to Bristol, and we're from Britain. We know Britain. Obviously, we don't know Britain from that time. It doesn't feel like, it feels like to me it feels quite sci-fi like. It's kind of feels, because it's very industrial, so obviously there's lots of factories, and that was a whole time in Britain where it was coming to the end of that whole industrial side of it. And I think, that's why I like it, because it feels very clangy, industrial, clangy, dirty, smoky. The whole music of this time. I mean, it is obviously very slow. It's not a lot happens in there. But I get a kick out of that. I can just sit back, kick back, and kind of zone out and watch these films. And
I appreciate what it's doing and what it's offering. There's just a lot of shots that feel pointless and a lot of scenes that could just be.
But I guess I disagree, because I think we mentioned this before. I love photography. And so being black and white, there's some really well framed shots in there. Whether they're just sitting at traffic lights for minutes on end.
I can see, some of the shots. Yes, I would agree with that. Other shots, where he's sat, where you're just looking over his shoulder at the roundabout I mentioned. All you can see is like a bit of a motorway and some cars driving past. There's nothing nice to look at all. But there is some music playing, so I guess you just shut your eyes and listen to the music.
It's real life.
It's real life. Well, if I want to experience real life, I'll go outside and and experience my own life.
It's interesting if you're from now, because it's a life that although we were alive when this was made.
Yeah.
That's quite bizarre and scary, because I was watching it, I was thinking, my God, this film's really old.
It does look. I think it doesn't help the car he's driving in is obviously.
You've got to crank it up.
Yeah, it's obviously a lot older than a car made in 1979.
Well, yes, of course it is, definitely. So, I think we've said enough about that film.
Yes.
Can you see it? Do you want to see it again?
Not really.
No, really. You can
get out your DVD now.
Show the world. But look, it's a great cover. Look at that. It's a great.
Yeah, if you say so.
Great. great. Anyway,
What I will say about that is, Christ, the picture is awful on it. I don't know what state the negative is in, but it's not great. It's got lines going down it and scratches on it and speckles all over it, and and they say on the box it's in luminous monochrome, which is possibly the most hyperbolic statement I've ever seen on the back of a box when you actually watch what's on the disc. It's not particularly luminous. It could do with being spruced up a bit. So why it wasn't, maybe the negative is beyond help, maybe they couldn't afford it, maybe they didn't want to spend the money on it because it wouldn't shift enough units, I don't know, but it could certainly do with a bit more love. And I think if it did look a bit better, because like you say, the visual aspect is what draws you into it,
Sure.
It could certainly look a hell of a lot better than it does now.
Right.
So, and it might actually be luminous, but at the moment I would disagree with that statement.
Right, that's fair enough.
There you go.
But if it's released on Blu-ray, will you pick it up?
No.
If you like these films, you probably have seen this.
Yeah.
If you come to this channel and you found us talking about this, it's probably because you know it and you want to hear what we maybe want to say about it.
Don't let me put you off,
from-
because it's just, that sort of thing just doesn't do anything for me.
I mean, I would say, if you haven't seen it, if you do like the kind of music that we've talked about, I mean, it's a really great soundtrack.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Bowie and Kraftwerk, Ian Jury, like Ian
Yeah,
Jury,
yeah, yeah.
Reckless Eric, Whole Wide World.
Yeah,
It's
all
amazing that
yeah.
song. Love that song. I mean, it's got a great soundtrack, and if you like that music, check it out.
When I was watching it, I thought if I want to watch grey, depressing scenery of Britain in the 70s, I'd watch Get Carter. And I would say, and apparently that was an influence on the film. So if you do like Get Carter's got more plot, but but I would check it out because it is similar. It does share similarities.
I mean, I think it's I think whether you like it or not, it's definitely one of the. I mean, it's. I don't know if it's a cult film. I think it's lesser known than most cult films that we've spoken about in the past. But it's it's of an era. It's Britain. You go to somewhere like America, which has hundreds of movies from all over the place. Although Britain's got a great cinematic history, there's not it's not like Hollywood here. It's not like it doesn't churn out movies like America does. But there's some really interesting stuff on the edges, I think, and this is one of them. And I think you'll either love it or you'll hate it. It was done by the BFI. I think the BFI put money into it originally.
Yeah. It does also say it's right for Rediscovery, which is right up our alley.
Well, there we go then.
So perfect.
You're right. Exactly. So I think we've said enough about Radio On.
Radio off now.
You were waiting to say that all the time.
I've
weren't
been
you?
waiting the whole video to say that.
Okay, great. So yes, so that was Radio On, and if you enjoyed this video or the film, well, I'd love to know if you enjoyed
Yeah,
the
no,
film.
we're happy to take all comments from
We
people
are.
that love it and hate it. Bring it on.
Definitely, bring it on indeed. Stick them down there in the comments below.
Yep.
And subscribe. Do that.
Mm-hmm. We're on Twitter and Facebook, so check us out on there. Have a little filmic chat with us on there. And yeah, we've got links to a couple of other videos coming up in a sec. So check those out and join us again in a week for another one.